These are truly exceptional times. We are living in a period of uncertainty, and we don't know if we'll find a cure or a vaccine. We don't even know if the economic crisis will lead to a social unrest. However, what we do know is that the pandemic has accelerated digital transformation efforts across the globe. Satya Nadella quoted that Microsoft has seen 2 years worth of digital transformation in a matter of 2 months alone, and that too at the peak of COVID. This is expected to continue and accelerate further in the next 6 months. We spent the last few weeks analyzing the technology and software enabled use cases that will see rapid adoption across the globe. The objective was to see how technology is enabling enterprises across industries become resilient and, in fact, go beyond resilience to become truly anti fragile by doubling down on the use cases. We spoke to a number of CXOs across enterprises, software companies, and services ecosystem to narrow down to a list of the following 5 categories of anti-fragility use cases. TeleX or Tele-everything, which includes services and experiences delivered remotely across industries such as healthcare, education, and even entertainment. Contactless commerce, which includes delivery of services such as healthcare supplies, essential and non-essential retail, using contactless delivery mechanisms and contactless payment. Intelligent workplace, which is all about digitally empowering your frontline and back office workers with safety, security, collaboration, productivity, and innovation. Digital thread is all about linking the design, manufacture, and support of products using digital twins across the workflow. Next-gen governance includes leveraging the smart city infrastructure for building truly pandemic-proof cities, rolling out newer services, and getting better, deeper insights into their citizens. Over the next 15 minutes, my colleague Vaibhav and I would dig deeper into some of these use cases. Healthcare has witnessed a radical transformation since the past 4 or 5 months from in-person care to telemedicine, and the demand numbers are staggering. Only 11% US consumers were adopting virtual consultations or telemedicine till last year, and today that number has skyrocketed to more than 50% adoption. And this is expected to rise further, and consequently, the telemedicine market size is expected to reach more than $25 billion by end of the year. Leading hospital chains such as Cleveland Clinic witnessed not more than 1 to 2% virtual consultations till January of this year, and this skyrocketed very soon to almost 50% the very next month in Feb. And this has further risen very sharply to 70% in March and 80% in April. This has been made possible partly by the unprecedented relaxations in government regulations. More than 20 US state governments have relaxed regulations and passed at least 80 telehealth services since March of this year. Earlier, doctors were mandated to be physically present in a regulated institution for imparting or providing remote consultations. Also, the doctors were mandated to consult only existing patients or those patients that have visited them at least once in the past 3 years. All of these regulations have been relaxed since. Even the federal government recently passed a bill in order to encourage Medicare and Medicaid services to foster greater growth of telemedicine. Because of all this, the global venture capital funding for telemedicine companies has surged to more than 5x in the first 6 months of 2020. For instance, popular telehealth platform Amwell recently raised a VC funding round of more than $200 million. Not only VC investors, but even private equity investors are very active in this space. For instance, private equity KKR has a thriving portfolio of almost 20 healthcare assets, right from pharma to med devices to healthcare providers and health tech companies. It is very easy for KKR to integrate all of these assets to form a very large healthcare company. And you would also see US healthcare moving into a hub and spoke model, where larger hospitals like a Cleveland Clinic or a Mayo Clinic would go ahead and acquire smaller hospitals across the US and then enable telemedicine services with these hospitals and then have a centralized mechanism so as to manage all of this. So in this way, the US healthcare would see consolidation of different hospitals and entities. And we would see very large healthcare companies emerging out as we come out of the pandemic. Healthcare experts cite that we have seen more than 10 years of transformation or change in a matter of weeks, and we're just getting started. Next is Tele Education. COVID-19 led to closures of schools and universities in more than 185 countries across the globe, and this forced more than a billion students outside of their classrooms. This in turn has led to a widespread adoption of tele-education or remote education. Asia took the lead in terms of tele-education with more than 750 million students across both India and China who took to remote education. Closer home, Byju's is a very popular startup aligned to remote education, and they've already raised more than $500 million in funding this year. In fact, their overall tally today stands at around $1.5 billion in VC funding, and their last round also elevated them to the coveted decacorn status, taking their valuation to more than $10.5 billion. Overall, if you look at EdTech, we have seen investments more than $3.5 billion in this year so far, and 75% of these have been from India and China. Teleeducation has the potential to disrupt not only K-12 but university education as well. Over the past several years, availability of easy student loans in the US has led to an exponential rise in the cost of education in the US. Today, we see students really questioning whether spending $100,000 annually on university education makes sense when you can get the same skills from a good online course. In fact, there are several interesting possibilities today. Well-known college brands such as be it a Stanford or a Harvard or even IITs and IIMs closer home, they've always had a demand-supply gap. They have had so much more demand of college students who want to enroll versus the number of physical students they can train. Today, using teleeducation and leveraging virtual classrooms, they can enroll as many students as they wish to apply. On the other hand, they can have very stringent graduation and passing criteria. So as many students can apply for the course, but only those select few who are able to really pass the graduation criteria would be able to complete their degrees and the university education. The other possibility is the emergence of superstar professors, something very similar to Instagram stars or YouTube stars. Great professors, such as, say, a professor in the machine learning domain, can have millions and millions of students and followers, and they can monetize this by using subscriptions and advertisements. Clearly, teleeducation has given rise to immense number of possibilities and is poised to dramatically transform the way students across the globe get educated. Next up, we have digital workplace. Close to 65% of the workforce in the US is working from home today. While we are all comfortable with our remote working arrangements, but at the same time, we're also looking forward to return to work at some point in the future. Aligned to this, there have been concerted efforts across the globe to ensure a fully contactless, hygiene-centric, and safety-first office of the future, so as to ensure a safer return to work for employees. Let me show you how a workplace of the future can look like. When you enter the office building, you will have to get screened by an infrared fever screening system. A few steps ahead, your elevator system will be equipped with a holographic keyboard or by your mobile app to select the floor of choice. You might be allowed to enter only based on facial recognition in countries that allows the technology. Once you are in your floor, employee guidance app will allocate the seat and provide the best route so that you maintain social distance. Occupancy will be continuously tracked using sensors and cameras. Your water dispenser, coffee machine, all will be touchless. The tap in the washroom will time you to check if you're washing your hands for 20 seconds. If not, maybe you won't be allowed to exit the washroom. The companies that are not impacted by COVID-19 might even redesign the office with more office room and higher square feet space per person. Office will be sanitized by robots and UV lights regularly. Your HVAC systems will be upgraded to ensure they're able to filter out bacteria and viruses as well as maintain the temperature and humidity that reduces the potential spread of any virus. Your meetings might not be the same. Even though some face-to-face meetings will come back, most meetings, even when you're in the office, could be virtual as it allows better interaction and provides equal opportunity for everyone in the meetings to contribute. We are, in fact, soon going to walk into the workplace of the future, which has been pulled forward by several years. The remaining technology areas will be covered by my colleague. So over to you, Vaibhav.
Thanks, Nischay. Let's look at digital thread. Digital thread is already playing a key role in how we conceptualize, design, manufacture, and support products by seamlessly integrating digital twins across the workflow. The entire product lifecycle is getting disrupted through use of digital technologies. This end-to-end, connected, intelligent, and immersive approach is what we refer to as digital thread. Next-gen product design platforms will allow design engineering and product teams to collaborate seamlessly across global locations using next-generation CAD and simulation platforms on the cloud. One of the large auto AEM was able to move all of their engineers to work from home as that enabled them on a private cloud instead of using the high performance workstation at their desks. Digital manufacturing will be the norm in factory of the future with empowerment of shop floor workers with AR, 3D printing, and IoT. Airbus, for example, provides AR headsets to its workers that provides not just guidance for assembly of airplane fuselage, but also detects flaws in the assembled parts. At the peak of COVID-19, when supply chains were broken and critical parts were not available, 3D printing came to the rescue. Today, 75% of the top 20 global manufacturers are using 3D printing to build some of the PPE. IoT-based monitoring of factory operations is enabling companies to prevent downtimes and increase throughputs. One-fourth of the GM's 30,000 industrial robots across factories are monitored on real-time basis, and 100 plus potential failures of vehicle assembly operations have been avoided. Digital field services using smart glasses is allowing teams to reduce the field visit to service their products, thereby reducing the cost and overall turnaround time for services, especially during the pandemic. Digital twins allow the remote engineer to review asset health and remotely diagnose the issues. The coming times are likely to see shift towards self-service models with a central team of experts guiding the customers using AR and VR technologies. Companies like Cox Communication are already exploring such scenarios. Let's look at smart cities and the whole governance model behind them. We've been discussing smart cities and infrastructure for a long time now. But there's a sense of urgency in the countries and cities adopting these technologies to get better insights into their cities, to make their cities pandemic proof, and roll out newer services to get better insights on their citizens. There's an opportunity to step up the smart city efforts to redesign our cities using technology to make them pandemic proof. Let's look at the city of tomorrow and see how new innovations are taking center stage in preparing pandemic proof cities of tomorrow. Drone corridors would be defined to ensure a regulated drone flying zone. Such drones would be used for surveillance to ensure social distancing is maintained and autonomous delivery of supplies and goods. In fact, the use of drones for such purposes has already begun in several Indian and Chinese cities, among some other Asian countries. An interesting example case is from Singapore, where a robodog has been deployed to warn and prompt people not following social distancing. Contract tracing has been the top of the priorities for nations to curb and mitigate the spread of virus. More than 30 countries across the globe have released national level official applications using geofencing and Bluetooth. South Korea and China were able to actually deploy technologies very successfully to test and isolate infected people. Telemedicine stations would be readily available throughout the city to ensure timely and professional care. The big question, though, is the remote work possibility. Is there a need for further urbanization? For example, instead of 2 or 3 major hubs in India or anywhere in the world, can we redesign to have 20 hubs across the country so that the talent does not have to relocate to already crowded cities? This will help in improving the gender diversity in talent pool and also allow you to hire women employees who are otherwise reluctant to relocate to cities due to family constraints. So overall, in summary, there are a lot of interesting possibilities, and we believe that software companies, their global R&D centers, and the technology team within enterprises should play an active role in building and accelerating the adoption of these technologies. Clearly, digital collaboration, contactless payments and commerce, telex, workforce automation, smart facilities, and reimagination of urbanization are areas that companies should look at. There are various enabling technologies that can help in speeding up the adoption of these technologies. There are opportunities across building intelligent applications, hyper-intelligent automation, hybrid cloud, and data security. The key for the technology leaders is to quickly analyze the opportunity, build relevant business cases to create awareness, build the relevant capabilities, and execute. It is a once in a lifetime opportunity for technology leaders to take part in this transformation journey of the companies to make sure your organizations are anti-fragile and gain market share during and post COVID-19 crisis. Talking about anti-fragility, that brings me to the last thing I wanted to discuss. While there are a lot of use cases that are promising, it is also a reality that enterprises are constantly being challenged on multiple fronts. But it is also true that every crisis there lies an opportunity. When we look at how COVID would force some of the transformations, we should definitely talk about some of the long-term strategy levers that both enterprises and software companies can leverage. There are five key things that emerge. Number one, financial resilience. Whenever companies come out of crisis, cash conservation and optimal cost structure will continue to remain a key focus. Carve-outs or divestitures of struggling IP business units could help in generating some quick cash. To determine near-term changes and adjustment to sales quotas, think about quota credit as opposed to reducing quota. Look at compensation plan changes for the rest of 2020. Example, uplift credit for new account sales, change in thresholds. You may also need a new digital process sales book for current customer relationships and expansion. Those of us who have not done virtual selling well will need to learn quickly and get good at it. The movement started much before this, and the question is, can we catch up fast enough? You need to evaluate customer expansion across geo segments and adjacent customer segments whom you're not currently targeting and not selling into, but your product could still be relevant. Review your talent strategy to ensure you have the right team structure with the relevant skills required for the future. With work from home, you can technically tap into relevant talent anywhere around the world. You would need to optimize your engineering processes to enable this. Future of work is another key aspect you should look at. Enable a more robust working environment, a virtual one, apart from just meetings app. We call it the intelligent workplace. Building deeper ecosystem ties and emulating platformization approach of the likes of Ubers and Airbnbs of the world could also be explored. This will not only help in your product portfolio, but also make them agile and resilient. If you're focused on a single vertical, look at M&A to expand into a multi-core company so that you can hedge against challenges in a specific vertical segment. Look at your product portfolio, find out which ones you need to stop investing more in and direct it to the other products. Do that review continuously. Exponential tech like 3D printing, RPA, AI, they are here to stay and they will drive the future in longer run. Look at them more strategically rather than just exploring them. With that, I would like to conclude our presentation today. Hope you all liked it. Thank you.